Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today's story is one of the funniest, most unexpected, and yet surprisingly motivational moments you'll ever hear. It all happened on Family Feud when Steve Harvey asked a simple question, and one contestant's wife decided to reveal a secret that left the entire studio laughing, crying, and clapping. This isn't just about comedy, it's about honesty, relationships, and learning to laugh at yourself. So let's dive into what happened when Steve Harvey mocked a contestant after his wife revealed his big secret. It started like any other episode of Family Feud. The audience was buzzing. Steve Harvey was in his element, throwing out jokes, teasing the contestants, and making everyone laugh. On one side stood Mark and his family. Mark looked confident, smiling wide, ready to take on the challenge. But little did he know, his wife was about to change the entire game. The question was innocent enough. What's one thing your spouse should never lie about? The room fell silent as people thought of their answers. Suddenly, Mark's wife hit the buzzer and, without hesitation, shouted, "Cooking! My husband can't cook." The audience erupted with laughter. Steve froze for a second, then turned, stared at Mark, and burst out laughing. He covered his face with his hands and staggered across the stage, pretending to faint. Steve then leaned on the podium, looked at Mark, and said, "So let me get this straight. You can't cook, but you've been telling people you can. Brother, that's not a secret. That's a scam." The crowd went wild. Mark raised his hands in surrender while his wife laughed so hard she had tears in her eyes. Steve knew he had struck comedy gold. He paced the stage, shaking his head, saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, this right here is why I come to work every day. Forget the questions, forget the answers. Tay-Chase is the show." The audience gave him a standing ovation. But Steve wasn't finished. He turned back to Mark and added, "You know what's crazy? Your wife didn't even hesitate, like she's been waiting her whole life to expose you. She didn't blink. She didn't think she just grabbed that mic and said, 'Boom, he exposed.'" Mark's wife laughed harder while Steve pointed at her and joked, "Ma'am, you don't need me to host this show. You just did my job for me." The audience screamed, clapping and cheering. Then Steve started acting out skits of Mark in the kitchen. He pretended to flip pancakes and drop them. He mimed boiling water until it caught fire, shouting, "Why is the water on fire?" Finally, he looked at Mark and delivered the knockout line, "Brother, I'm gonna pray for you, but more importantly, I'm gonna pray for your wife, because eating your food might be the real family feud." The studio nearly collapsed with laughter. Steve himself had to walk off stage because he couldn't stop laughing. To his credit, Mark took it like a champ. He smiled, laughed along, and even joked back, "Steve, I may not know how to cook, but I sure know how to eat." The crowd roared again. Steve pointed at him and said, "See, now tell us how you survive marriage. Admit your weakness and make a joke out of it." The audience clapped, appreciating Mark's humility. His wife hugged him, and the whole moment transformed from a roast into a display of love, humor, and family. Then, as the laughter settled, Steve took a deep breath, lowered his voice, and gave one of his trademark motivational messages. He looked at Mark and said, "Now listen, folks, this is bigger than a joke, because what his wife did was tell the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts, sometimes it embarrasses you, But at the end of the day, the truth sets you free. The audience clapped. Steve continued. In life, we spend so much time trying to look perfect. We want to act like we've got it all together. But real strength is admitting your weakness. Real power is when you can laugh at yourself instead of pretending to be somebody you're not. You may not know how to cook, but you know how to love your wife, and that's worth more than any recipe. Steve then turned to the audience and said, "Don't be ashamed of your flaws. Don't be embarrassed by what you can't do. Everybody walking this earth has weaknesses. But when you can admit them, when you can laugh about them, that's when you truly win. The next time somebody exposes you, don't get mad, just smile, laugh, and own it. Because the people who can laugh at themselves are the ones who can handle anything life throws at them." The crowd clapped and cheered again. Finally, Steve tied it back to marriage. Marriage is not about pretending to be perfect. It's about being real. It's about laughing together when things go wrong. If your partner can't laugh with you, you're in trouble. But if your partner can love you through your flaws, through your mistakes, through your bad cooking, that's a blessing. The studio gave another standing ovation. Steve smiled and closed the segment by saying, "Sometimes the biggest secret isn't that you can't cook or dance. The real secret is that you've been underestimating yourself. Because when you let go of fear, when you stop hiding, and when you let people see the real you, flaws and all, that's when life gets good." The lesson was clear honesty. Humor and humility are the keys to confidence. And as Steve Harvey always says, your gift will make room for you. But your gift doesn't have to be cooking. It just has to be yo. So, if you laughed, if you learned something, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a friend who needs a good laugh and a little motivation today. Because at the end of the day, life is short. Don't waste it pretending to be perfect. Be real. Be honest. And most importantly, never forget to laugh along the way.